When people look at me, I know what they see. A calm person, a pleasant smile, a woman who seems steady and in control. But if they had to hear the noise inside my mind, the battle of my thoughts, the frustrations, even moments of deep anger or hurt, I often wonder, would they see me differently? Because what's going on inside of me is rarely what I show on the outside. And some might say, isn't that being fake? No, it's not. It's because I've learned something most of us have forgotten. A virtue that lets me stay composed even when my emotions feel anything but. If you're new here, my name is Julie, and I help Christian wives who feel worn out in their marriages and motherhood to become joyful, free, and whole again, even if your circumstances don't change. If you need this encouragement, I'd love for you to press that like and subscribe button to join this community. A couple of months ago, I was visiting a friend. My son was having one of those days. You know, the kind moany, clingy, and just grumpy. While my friend and I were in the middle of a conversation, he kept blurting things out, interrupting us over and over. And as much as I tried to stay in the conversation with her, I was wrestling in my thoughts. How should I approach this? How should I respond to my son? How do I calm him down and discipline him at the same time? Inside, my heart was in complete turmoil. I was frustrated, irritated, and maybe even a bit angry at his attitude. But eventually, I addressed it and he settled down and the moment passed. Right after that, my friend looked at me and she said, "Wow, you have so much patience with him." I think I kind of just laughed at her comment because I couldn't actually believe that she just said that. Because in that moment, I felt anything but patient. I was in turmoil. It felt like I just got out of a full-on battle. But I realized she couldn't see what was going on inside of me, and thank goodness for that. But more importantly, if she, which is a grown up, experienced me as patient in that moment, then my son probably did too. And if that is the case, then I'd won. That got me thinking, how many of us wives and mothers feel like we're failing simply because we know what's really going on in our hearts and in our thoughts? We feel the inner storm, so we judge ourselves more harshly than anyone else ever could. We carry far more than we admit. We think we're just managing life, but in reality, we're dragging around years of unspoken frustration, guilt, and overwhelm. And I had to learn myself how to let go, because if we don't, it will eventually spill over in our words, in our tone, in our marriage, and even in our home. This is why I created my free webinar. I had to make certain mindset adjustments and take certain steps to pull myself out of my overwhelm and acknowledge certain burdens that I have been unknowingly carrying. And in my free webinar, I give you these exact steps that you can take to overcome your emotional overwhelm. You can sign up through the link in the description down below. As Christian homemakers, we're called to cultivate a spirit of grace and godliness in our home. But inside of us, it can feel anything but that. Each day we have constant battles in our mind. Some days it feels like a storm is raging, thoughts that are unkind, emotions that feel heavy, frustrations that feel too strong to carry. And in those moments, it's easy to believe we're failing in having a good manner because we know what's happening inside of us. However, if the people around you are still experiencing your goodness, your patience, your kindness, your gentle spirit, then you are winning, no matter how fierce the inner fight. You are doing the hard work, the holy work of choosing self-control over self-indulgence. And that is exactly the virtue so many of us have forgotten. Self-control over our words, our tone, and our emotions. I know that sounds countercultural because social media is flooded with messages telling you stay true to who you are, be authentic, speak your truth. But as Christian wives, we know better. We know that we have a sinful nature. Scripture reminds us that our natural selves are tainted by sin. Jeremiah 17 verse 9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked." If we let our unfiltered thoughts and emotions spill out, we risk hurting those we love most and dishonoring God. Instead, we're called to a higher standard, a forgotten virtue, self-control. This is about intentionally choosing to filter our words and actions through the lens of God's truth, so that what flows out of us builds up our home rather than tears it down. The battles you fight within, those moments of frustrations, those fleeting unkind thoughts, those are between you and God. They don't need to be on display. In fact, keeping them private is an act of obedience. Jesus himself taught us to pray in secret, to give in secret, to fast in secret, not for show, but for the sake of our relationship with God, in Matthew 6 verse 1 to 18. In the same way, the work of taming our sinful nature is a private labor of love. It's you before the Lord, surrendering those thoughts and asking for His strength to walk in righteousness. This is why I don't show people the raw, unfiltered version of me. That version is a work in progress, constantly being refined by God's grace. If I had to show it, it would be full of sin, pride, impatience, and selfishness. If I let every unfiltered thought or emotion loose, I'd be giving into sin rather than fighting it. Instead, I take it to God. I wrestle it out in prayer and in my thoughts. I ask God to search my heart, to convict me, to transform my thoughts. I choose to take every thought captive, as Paul urges us in 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5, bringing it into submission to Christ. That's where the battle belongs, in my private conversations with God, not spilling over out onto my husband, my children, or even the people around me. Which usually looks like pausing before I speak, praying before I react, and asking God to help me reflect His character in my words and actions. And here is a quick prayer you can say when you're in the heat of the moment. You can just pray and say, "Lord, help me show my family the good you're cultivating in me, not the sin I'm still wrestling with." So I want to encourage you to keep on practicing the virtue of self-control. You choose when and how to speak, and allow God to refine your responses so that what comes out reflects His heart and not just your flesh. This is the beauty of a good manner at home. It's about being surrendered. It's about understanding that composure and kindness is a practice of self-control. Every time you choose self-control, you are strengthening your spirit. Every time you choose to take those thoughts to God instead of letting them spill over, you are building spiritual strength. So the next time you feel like you're losing because of the storm inside your heart, remember this: what matters is the fruit you allow others to experience. If they experience love, patience, gentleness, and peace, then you are walking in the virtue that so many have forgotten. And God sees the battle you are fighting in private, and He honors it. Now, as we anchor ourselves in the virtue of self-control, choosing to let God's grace shape our words and actions, we create a home that radiates His love. But this isn't just about holding back harsh words or taming our emotions. It's also about the why behind our efforts. Why do we strive to cultivate a good manner at home? Why do we fight those inner battles and choose to show grace even when it's hard? And the answer: every act of love, every moment of patience, every effort to nurture our home is not just for your family. It's an offering of service to God Himself. You are serving the Almighty God. Colossians 3 verse 23 to 24 reminds us, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." It is the Lord Christ you are serving. This perspective changes everything. The mundane tasks, the endless to-do lists, the quiet moments of sacrifice. They all become sacred when we see them as acts of worship. Your home is your mission field, and every choice you make to serve with love and intentionality is a way to honor God. How would your daily life shift if you truly embrace this mindset? Picture yourself wiping down the kitchen counter, not because it's another chore, but because you're creating a space of order and peace as an offering to the Lord. Imagine speaking gently to your children, even when they test your patience, because you're reflecting God's grace to them. Consider how you interact with your husband, choosing kindness, forgiveness, and encouragement because you want to glorify God who entrusted you with this role. When we serve our home with the perspective that we're serving God, every task, no matter how small, becomes an act of devotion. This is how we cultivate a good manner at home, not just by controlling what we show outwardly, but by rooting our actions in a desire to please God. Our service to our family becomes a reflection of our love for Him, a living testimony of our faith. I want to leave you with this encouragement. Your marriage and your motherhood, it matters. The battles you fight inside that no one sees, God sees them. The patience you show when your heart feels worn out, God honors it. The quiet acts of service that goes unnoticed, they are treasures stored up in heaven. You are not failing because of struggles in your mind. You are a wife who is showing up every day, choosing to love, choosing to serve, choosing to walk in obedience even when it's hard. And that is the kind of faithfulness that changes you and people's lives around you. And if you're feeling weary in that work, if the load feels heavy and your spirit feels worn down, again, I want to invite you to my free webinar. It's for wives who feel like they've been holding everything together on the outside, but are quietly overwhelmed on the inside. In this webinar, I'll help you recognize the burdens you've been unknowingly carrying, showing you how to release them and guide you towards the kind of peace that transforms you. So if you're ready to lay down that heaviness and walk in joy again, I'd love for you to join me. You can sign up through the link in the description down below. Also, if you feel that you are struggling with guilt in motherhood, you can watch this next video that will help you to forgive yourself for past mistakes and give you a new perspective on the feeling of you are failing. Thank you for watching the video. If you haven't, please press that like and subscribe button and share it with another wife who might need this encouragement today. I hope you have a blessed day.